What's up, BookTube? Sandy Golson back here with the super extra late, but still on time in some ways, wrap-up video for the month of October 2020. So, if you could, please hit the like button for this video and consider hitting the subscribe button for this channel for future videos on BookTube and AuthorTube topics. So, I'm going to jump right into it. I read 6 books in the month of October, and the intent had been to read a little bit more in terms of quantity of books, but some of which I never got to. And then one that I kind of partially finished. It was an audio book that I never did actually finish. So I won't actually count that one. But without further ado, I'm going to jump into the books that I read, and I'll start with the physical copy of books right now. First up is a book that I picked up in a lot of books on eBay. And I had been looking to pick up this book and a few others in the lot for a long time. It was a Stephen King lot of books, and one of the ones that I really wanted is Firestarter. Is a book that I wanted to read for a long time, never got around to reading it, and then I saw that the movie was showing up quite a bit for me on Amazon Prime or somewhere. It kept showing up, and I wanted to watch the movie because I've never actually watched the movie start to finish. But I figured, you know what? I think I want to read the book first before I watch the movie. So I did end up picking up the book, and I really enjoyed it. It was a fun read. It was definitely Stephen King in this book. It's a little on the long side. It's a little over 400 pages. And a lot of words too. So I read part and I listened to part audiobook as well. So I got definitely a blended experience in terms of the book. What I remember about the movie, again, never having seen the movie start to finish, but from what I remember of the movie, I think it was pretty consistent with what was actually in the book. So I did enjoy reading this. I'm glad I finally got around to reading it. I'm extra glad that I read it before watching the movie. So movie, you're up next. Another book I read in the month of October is The Last Story of Mina Lee. And this is a book that I actually did a buddy read with my buddy Margaret. Nancy Julian Kim is the author, and I did enjoy this book. I enjoy it now, a little bit, now about a month or so removed from reading it. I actually enjoy it a lot more. I have a greater appreciation for this book. It's told from 2 different perspectives. The perspective of Mina Lee and her daughter Margot, and they're told, of course, dueling timelines, and so it's really a powerful tale. There's themes of immigration. There's of course a murder mystery element in this as well, and then a discovery element, trying to learn more about a mysterious figure. In this case, happens to be daughter wanting to learn more about her mother. So I was really excited to read this book, and I picked it up. It was a feature selection that I picked up on Book of the Month, and I thought, I wanted to read a little bit more diversity. And when this book popped up, I thought, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to really diversify a little bit and read something that maybe is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but not totally out. A poignant mother-daughter story and surprising mystery. The Last Story of Mina Lee is a profound debut novel that illustrates the devastating realities of being an immigrant in America. And boy, does it do that. So, I really enjoyed it. In fact, I can't even remember what my rating was on Goodreads, but if it's under a 4, I think I'm going to upgrade it to a 4. Next up is a book that I picked up. It just kept popping up on me on Amazon, and I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to pick it up. I've done some other videos about my reading of this particular book, so I won't go into a lot of detail about it. You can see some of the other videos on this channel about it, and that is Fantastic Land by Mike Bockoven. And this book, I really like the way that the story is told. It's told as a bunch of interviews. And it's really fascinating. One of the tough things about it is that there's so many different perspectives that the perspectives almost blur together, even though you remember the story, because what they're saying is unforgettable, even though who it's coming from is maybe a little bit more forgettable. But it was really fascinating book. This hurricane hits this theme park, and basically everybody is trapped in the theme park. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people are trapped in the theme park, and things just kind of devolve, and they kind of split off into these factions that are kind of sort of chasing resources and battling each other. And it's just some really disturbing things happen over the course of this book. It's dark, but it's addictive. Like once you start reading it, it's almost impossible to put down especially when you get to the heart of it, of what's going on and the horrific things that are starting to happen. You just really cannot stop reading it. So Fantastic Land by Mike Bockoven. I read part of it physically in the book, and then I had an Audible subscription through Amazon, and it actually popped up on there for free. So I decided to listen to part of it while also reading physically part of it as well. But really dark and yet fun read at the same time. Next up are 3 books that I read. One, it was a physical copy of the book, but for whatever reason I can't find the physical copy of the book, so I'll just put it right up here. But one is, and I'll just start with that one, is Wedding Night by Gary Devin. Now, years ago, more than 20 years ago, I discovered Gary Devin. I read his book Bad Desire, which is a book that I want to reread at some point. And so when I like a book by an author who has other books, if the other book is kind of remotely interesting, then I'm more willing to give that author a try. And that's the case with Gary Devin. So I finally, probably a couple years ago, I got the book Wedding Night, and I wanted to read it, and I kind of kept putting it off. And then, with Halloween this year, and I had an opening, and I kept seeing the Gary Devin books. They were paired together and on a shelf, and I said, well, you know what, I'm going to pick it up, and finally decided to read it. And it's really interesting. It's of course, again, takes place on a wedding night. A wife marries a husband, and she discovers some dark secrets with him, and it becomes like this kind of mystery that's kind of cookie cutter in some ways, but yet it was interesting, and it definitely held my attention from start to finish. So I was really enjoying reading that. It was actually a relatively fast read, and and I was glad I picked up again on Gary Devin. He writes kind of stories that I find really interesting. So I think I am going to read Bad Desire again, by the way. So anyway, Wedding Night by Gary Devin. Next up, as many of you know, I'm a big fan of the Friday the 13th movie franchise. I am just addicted to them. I watch them almost all the time when they pop up. And some of them I have on VHS, some of them I have on DVD, and some of them just pop up now and then on Amazon Prime or someplace else, or I don't know, wherever else they might pop up, and I'll watch them, and sometimes I'll take a Saturday or a Sunday and I'll just marathon watch all of them. And so this one I happened to stumble across. It was actually the script for the original Friday the 13th, and I like to read the script sometimes for movies because you see things that they decided not to put in, or the things that they decided to change that are where the finished product is different from what the original vision was. And that was the case with this one, although it was fairly true to it, but it was kind of interesting. It's always interesting to see the things that they did differently from script to movie. And so I was glad I read it. It was a very quick read, as you would expect from that movie. It was a kind of a short movie that was really direct and to the point. And again, just a huge fan of the Friday the 13th series. I read the Simon Hawke books years ago, and I think there's some more of them that are out there, and so I might check out some of those at some point as well. There's some audiobooks for the Friday the 13th book series that are out there floating around on YouTube, so you can always check them out there if you want to. But yeah, Friday the 13th, just I'm a little bit of a horror nut, and that's just one of my favorites. Lastly is a novel by Stephen King, a short novel that was direct to Kindle, and it was called and it was a science fiction book, a very short novella, and I read it. It was a book that I had on my Kindle for a long time, and I never got around to reading it. And again, Halloween 2020, I was like, it's there. I'll pick it up. It should be a quick read. Sometimes I look for quick reads, and this was one, and I picked it up, and it actually is about a Kindle device, perhaps not ironically enough, and with let's just say some powers to do some different things and to give you different an alternate universe. I don't want to give too much of it away, but it's really fascinating. It was not quite what I expected when I jumped into it, but as I continued to read it, it was intriguing, and there were some things that I was wondering, like, what topic or moment are they going to talk about next? And so I was really intrigued, and I kept reading it, and I'm glad I did. It was an interesting book. I don't think I rated it super high, but I did like it in the sense that it was entertaining and it kept me interested as to how it was going to play out. So that was or You Are. Some people call it You Are. Some people call it But it was fascinating. It was different. It was interesting. And Stephen King has a way of throwing like little curveballs at you sometimes with some of his writing. So that's it for by Stephen King. I've actually had not read a lot of Stephen King for a number of years, and then I finally, in the last year or so, I've gotten back into reading Stephen King. Okay, so there you have it. That is my wrap up for the month of October 2020. I'm already deep into November, and so I'm a little bit late again getting to this particular video as well as my TBR for November 2020. So, but that's it. Hopefully I'm caught up now and I can get back into some NaNoWriMo stuff and continue with nonfiction November, which is what I'm going to be doing in terms of reading a little bit more. Doesn't mean I won't read any fiction in the month of November, because I'm sure I will, but I'm going to try to focus on getting some nonfiction books read in the month of November. And so that's it for October 2020, and wrapping it up. And if you could, again, hit the like button for the video and consider hitting the subscribe button for the channel, the bell button for notifications, and stay with me on this journey through BookTube and AuthorTube content.